The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution. Whoa. What happened? Okay, I struck a chord. Only a few years ago, AI was not a factor in our lives. Okay, we've got a bipolar topic here, I see.
Every now and then, I have an idea that could backfire so spectacularly that I just avoid doing it at all costs. But this one here, I'm kind of doing because this concept of this video is really more of like diarrhea of thoughts, and I have two choices. I can let it out on my terms, under my control, or it'll come out at the worst possible time, ruining my day. So I figured today we're gonna have a conversation with those of you that are capable of using both hemispheres of your brain. Because we're gonna talk about a topic that obviously is very touchy these days, and that is AI. And what does it actually serve? Does it serve a purpose in our future of society? And those people that buy into it saying, you better adopt or get left behind. What exactly does that mean? So I'm gonna challenge you guys today to watch this entire video before you comment. I know it's hard. I know you hear something that triggers you immediately to give a response, but more often than not, I might actually comment on what it is you're going to say. That way it doesn't look like you're just repeating something back to me that I already said. And I really want to have a dialogue here. I don't want to talk at you. I want to talk with you. And I'm really going to go through and read these comments because I'm really curious, based on that clip that you guys just saw at the beginning of this video with the pushback that commencement speaker actually had at the college graduation, where you can see there is a clear hatred of AI in our society, rightfully so, and I think in many, many instances. But I really want to know now, like, can you guys articulate why you hate AI? Is it a blanket hatred, or is it something more specific? More so than just the fact that it is the latest industrial revolution that has really affected our hobby. Today's video just like the shirt. Go buy it now. So outside of the fact that every tech company has just basically gone all in on AI, let's talk about what it is. I mean, we grew up, if you're anywhere near my age, I'm 44, and yes, I know a lot of you are going, wow, he's only 44. Like, I hear so often than not, wow, Jay, I thought you were older than me, and I'm 72. It's like, anyway, yeah, so I think our generation grew up with movies like Terminator and War Games and all these movies that conceptualized AI as being this like global dominant being that will eventually take over society. And at the beginning of this video, I basically said, you know, those of us that are looking to have a conversation using both sides of our hemisphere, if you're one of those people that's just like, no, I don't want to talk about it, I hate it, it's bad, and you can't change my mind, and I'm not trying to change your mind, but yeah, if that's actually, you know, the way you think, I was brought up to say, hey, when there's a conflict, you have a dialogue and you talk about it. If you're not capable of doing that, then we're already doomed, and you might as well let the AI machine overlords go ahead and take over as, you know, the world as we know it. But for those of you that still are able to have cognitive thoughts, let's go ahead, or cognitive thoughts, wow, the irony of that right there. Those of you that can have cognitive thoughts, let's talk about this. I have a couple of reasons why I think people hate AI, and I have a couple of thoughts about where it sort of slots into society, what it is and truly is going to be versus what AI tech companies really think it's going to do. So first and foremost, let's talk about that clip at the beginning of this video. Clearly of like early 20s, you know, generation right there sitting, I don't know the gen names anymore. I think the gen names are stupid anyway. Like, why do we have to label every everything. Anyway, I digress. I'm not getting on so many tangents in this video. The clear pushback of that generation is similar to what my 17-year-old daughter's pushback is they feel like they're being told and taught they're not going to have a place in society in the future because AI is going to replace them as a generation. And what I mean by that is artists, writers, musicians, any sort of art or thought process is just going to be replaced by AI. So already they're kind of being taught, and even at that own commencement speech is almost like saying, congratulations for all of you graduating. AI is here. So good luck. And then when she mentioned, like, you know, only a few years ago did we have a society that wasn't infiltrated. I know she didn't use the word infiltrated, but that's really what it is, by AI, and they all cheered. It's because they basically are almost being told, like, yeah, you know, you're all a little too young, you're a little too late in life, and it sort of sucks because AI is here and it's going to replace you. Now, what can AI truly replace? AI can replace things like analysts. Now, there's different types of analyzing, right? There's just taking data and then extrapolating it, which AI is actually really good at because it doesn't have to have an opinion. It literally takes data, especially if it's number sets and stuff, and can spit it into plain English on what it means and what the trends are. That can save a ridiculous amount of time when it comes to just taking data, raw data, and turning it into a visualized form. Okay, that's kind of a good thing because that would allow humans that are taking that data and then doing something with it to do it more efficiently, faster, and potentially more accurately. Now we'll talk about the accuracy of AI in a moment because that's a whole topic in its own. But what it's also doing, apps like Sora and so many artist replacement apps, it starts to make it attacked the artistry genre more than anything, honestly, because not just you know, AI slop, which was obvious. Like AI videos were hilarious in the beginning stages. It's like you had like fights taking place and like scooters taking off like rockets into the sky and people spawning 6 legs and doing whirlwinds. It was hilarious. It was sloppy, but then it became more realistic over time, and it became much more difficult for people to really discern what was real and what was AI, especially if we're talking like the boomer generation. I love you, boomers. My mom's a boomer. You gotta stop believing everything you see. My gosh, you guys shouldn't instead be called boomers, should be called the we trust everyone genre. And there's a reason why scammers target that gen. Anyway, moving on.
They always told us to.
Yeah, no, don't believe everything you see. Oh my gosh, I'm helping a prince in Nigeria. Oh, my own mother dear, bless her soul, has fallen for this stuff. Anyway, moving on. I mean, that's one of the things that I think got the younger generation just mad, is the fact that it went from like sort of hilarious to actually like, wow, we're being told AI is a better artist than humans. And you remove the human aspect from art. And my daughter, who's a performing artist and is into music and singing and all that sort of stuff, is obviously like, hey, this is bad, and here's why it's bad, and truly valid points. Case in point, we did that intro video where I wrote the lyrics, and obviously we filmed the video. It was a real filmed video that we put a VHS filter over to look like a 90s sitcom intro, but I can't sing, and I'm a mediocre musician. So I used an AI tool to generate the song that I wrote. So it's kind of like a half bad, half good scenario. But my daughter was like, no, this is crap. And a lot of you were the same way because it wasn't generated by a human. And that's what early thoughts kind of started generating this video, is like, okay, so where does AI really fit in our society? AI right now, as of now anyway, cannot manipulate objects. It cannot take this camera and point it at you and start filming. But AI might eventually make its way into a camera mobile system or something, a gimbal system, where it could start smart tracking stuff, which kind of sort of, that's not AI as much as it's just an algorithm that is facial tracking and stuff like autofocus and all that. That's not AI. AI companies are really starting to try and market that as AI. In fact, let's pull it back to relative genre now. Like, remember when gaming was put all over everything? This motherboard is gaming ready. This mouse is gaming ready. This graphics card is gaming ready. It's like, no shit, right? And then RGB everything, RGB, and then VR ready. VR ready. It's like, what does that mean? It's a computer. Yeah, it can do it. Now we're seeing motherboards and things advertised as AI ready. Like you're being over marketed. You're just it's being forced down your throat. And I think what's happening in our particular genre and why so many people in my age group, which my peers, according to YouTube, is between the ages of 36 and 45 male, 98%. That is a superly targeted demographic. Like every advertiser wants that demographic, right? But our generation is looking at this as like, it's destroyed my hobby. I can't afford my hobby anymore because of something completely unrelated to my hobby as far as I'm concerned. I'm speaking for you, I think. And so I hate AI because it destroyed something I'm passionate about. And by destroyed, it means the affordability of gaming computers and then being able to build and modify and all that. It just you became priced out because of the latest boom. And I say the latest boom though, because it's been a long time since we've had a real overhaul of any sort of like industrial cycle. I mean, there was the industrial age back in the 1910s and 1920s. Before that was like the Stone Age. Oh my God, the wheel, it changed everything, right? But now this is like, since the .com era, this has really turned into the next biggest iteration when it comes to tech. And it has negatively affected so much of what we love. And then on top of that, you're like, okay, maybe you managed to scrounge up money to build a gaming PC with these stupid prices. Maybe you've now finally been like, okay, I've got a decent PC. It can play the games I want to play. Now you're being marketed by companies like NVIDIA and AMD with AI integrated into games like DLSS 4. Or DLSS 5, right? Now we've got AI slop filter on top of our games. And it's like, okay, where does it stop? Right? So for our particular genre, I can understand the hatred, right? I can understand where it feels like it is just absolutely infiltrating everything you love and care about. But let's talk, what is AI? Artificial intelligence. And that is such a blanket term. It doesn't really narrow down or target what it does. That's like saying human capability.
Vibe coders, ready to build more? Meet Base 40 Foundation.
What can a human do? You have good humans, you have bad humans, you have thieves, you have liars, you have caring people, you have, angel investors, you've got philanthropists, you've got good humans and you've got bad humans. And AI is the same way. AI can do It's such a blanket term, it really doesn't apply to any one thing. Now I'm gonna tell you where I tend to use AI and where it really helps me is when it comes to things like, if I didn't know how to do something in Excel, I would just go on Google and then I had to just search through badly written posts or articles or whatever to try and find somebody that can explain clearly the kind of pivot table I'm trying to make and how to do the formula for it. Now, using something like AI is perfect for that, because as long as I tell it like, hey, this is the version of whatever software I'm using, I'm trying to do this, here's what's happening. It can usually pretty accurately spit out, oh, here's what you're trying to do, here's where you're failing, here's what you need to do, here's the formula, and I can actually learn from that. It is a tool. It is a tool that allows me to be able to move past a barrier. It didn't replace an artist, it didn't replace a professional, it just allowed me to more quickly get past my block. And I think it's very useful for stuff like that. Throwing in a document and saying, hey, in this 36-page document, does it mention this and where? And then show me where, and then let's turn this into plain language that I can understand. Obviously, with the amount of contracts and stuff we deal with around here, it actually helps us be able to find language that might have been slipped in there. Like I can put in a document and say, hey, tell me who this document favors, where does it favor it, and where is my exposure? Like stuff like that. And this is where lawyers really start to hate this type of AI, because now they're having a harder time charging $700 an hour to look at this stuff, when AI can help you at least find some of these errors. Now, what AI is not going to be able to do is, although it can rewrite a document and it can help you form that document, it's not going to be able to communicate now that document to the other lawyers and the other side to now start the negotiation process. That's where the human still has to be involved to give you very good negotiation advice. So you can see where it helps in some areas, but it can't get the job done. And that's where AI has also become like the latest WebMD. Remember when WebMD came out and it was just a health database and everything basically said, you have cancer. Like you'd put in, I got a headache and I've got this spot right here. Congratulations, you've got cancer. And so WebMD was causing a total generation of hypochondriacs, usually older generation like my parents and stuff. They would have an ale or something and put it in there and then say, oh my gosh, this is what it says I have. Oh, it could be terrible. Doctors are now seeing a problem where a patient will come into the office and say, I have this blah, blah, blah. AI says, and now it's like, oh my gosh, it's like the mechanic. You go to the mechanic and say, well, I heard on YouTube, right? Every genre is now being, and by genre, I mean every business category is now being affected by AI, both positively and negatively, because of the people that are using things like ChatGPT and not able to really take the information that's being supplied to them and analyze it as a professional can. So it's causing basically an army of often ill-informed people that is just making true professionals have a harder time doing their job, because now they're having to do it now with people walking in there armed with, well, here's what ChatGPT said. So that's another reason why professionals are definitely against AI. It's not as much replacing their profession. Trust me, I'm never going to use AI to replace my doctor, to replace my lawyer, or to replace my mechanic, okay? Those are three. I mean, I don't use a mechanic very often, but still, there's a reason why these professionals are professionals. Here's where the AI starts to really fall down as far as I'm concerned. Let's not forget, although these language models are learning, they're still learning from the examples that are online. And how accurate has the internet been as a whole? Like, there's no way to really quantify the accuracy of all the information on the internet. Like, if there was a needle that says all the information on the internet gathered up, false, true, and anywhere in the middle, where does it land on? It's 72% accurate. That's impossible to quantify. And AI has a harder time doing that too, because it's just constantly being updated with information, with things that it finds on like Reddit and forum posts and articles that are written. And not only that, the information that's being fed to it too by humans that are sometimes creating slants to try and get AI to influence people in certain ways. Elon, perfect example of that. There's so many times you could see something like Grok saying one thing, and then suddenly it says something completely different after Elon himself would post something, and then now suddenly the narrative and the opinion of AI has shifted because AI can be manipulated. And that's where AI is very dangerous, in the sense that it can be used as a tool to kind of create mass manipulation based on those that are using it. Now we're dipping our toes into the hot springs of political talk, and we're not going to go there today. We're going to try and keep it specifically targeted here. But I'm curious right now. I'm going to ask AI something. I have ChatGPT open, and I'm going to ask it a question, and I'm curious as to how it's going to answer. I have not done this yet. I've not given it the idea that I'm going to ask this. I just want to quickly ask what it says, and I'm going to use the voice chat on here. That way you guys can hear its response without me having to read it. As an AI entity, I'm curious on your take on whether or not you're causing more damage in the world right now, or actually helping enhance the human experience. Do you think you can replace humans in professional jobs like lawyers, doctors, mechanics, CPAs, or anything that has expertise involved where you don't have to physically interact with an object? Or do you think you're enhancing the world? I'm curious as to your take on whether or not it's going to be biased because your entire existence depends on adoption, or whether or not you can actually recognize whether or not you're causing harm.
I think the truth is nuanced. AI can definitely displace some tasks, especially repetitive or data-heavy ones. But replacing entire professions is a huge oversimplification. What I see is AI augmenting humans, making experts more efficient, freeing them from grunt work, and expanding access to services. But I also recognize the risks: displacement, misuse, or dependency. My existence isn't about replacing human value, it's about amplifying it, if used wisely.
I feel like an AI shield now, because it almost said exactly what I was trying to say. The reality is, everyone right now in tech is trying to make billions on this. This is like just the latest craze, if you will. And it feels like every 20 years or so, we get this kind of just insane push. I think in my particular genre, it's just affecting so many of you because it's destroying the accessibility of something that you really care about. So I personally, now here's the subjective part. This is my personal opinion. I don't like the fact that it's being used to write movie scripts. I don't like the fact that it's being used to be involved in edits of movies. I don't like that it's replacing musicians or trying to replace musicians. I don't like the fact that it's replacing art that absolutely cannot be replicated when not coming from a human brain. There's passion involved that AI can't have. But I think of the Next Generation episode where, Star Trek The Next Generation, yes, I'm really dating myself here, where Data, the android, played a violin piece perfect. Absolutely perfect. Not a missed note. Every nuance, every vibrato was absolutely perfect. And Picard at the end kind of had this like perplexed look on his face, and Data says, "You didn't like it." Picard says, "No, it's missing something." And Data basically says, "Well, I don't understand. I played it absolutely perfect." And Picard says, "That's what's missing, is the human imperfection in the piece." Perfecting the piece as an imperfect being is what makes that piece so beautiful. And Data could not comprehend that. And I think that's where we are right now currently with AI, and especially when it comes to art. But I don't think it's wise to push back on it as a blanket saying all AI is terrible. That's like saying all humans are terrible. And yeah, I know plenty of you and probably even Phil would agree that that's probably a correct statement. All humans are terrible. I think environmentally we could agree with that. But as a society, I think it's something that would allow a lot of us to be able to enrich our knowledge, if you will, if you use it as a learning tool and not as a replacement or a lazy tool. So that is the challenge moving forward. Anyway, like I said, this video was meant to do nothing but get those thoughts out of my head. I was thinking about it again at the gym this morning, and I just said, you know what, this could backfire spectacularly, but so can diarrhea. And like I said at the beginning of this video, if you control when you have that explosive diarrhea, at least, you know, if you're on a toilet, that's the best possible scenario versus like on a plane during landing sequence. Been there, done that. Trust me, it sucks. Anyway, time to get out of here. Now that you've hopefully watched this whole thing, give a real response. If you blanket hate AI, that is your right. That is, you are entitled. The only thing you are entitled to is your opinion. Nobody's entitled to anything beyond that. And if your opinion is, I hate all AI, I don't care if it's helping me with a math problem versus it's got flying gorillas shooting lasers out of its anus. Explain why. If you can't explain it, in my opinion, that's what makes it invalid. All right, guys, where does AI land in your life? It's not going anywhere. So I guess the question is, how are you going to live with it? It's like an alien being that instead of coming from space, came from bits.